There we go. I think that's got it. As ever. I think that's got it.
Starting to do these things more and more often, and yet I can still never quite remember how to do them right the second time. Hi folks, let's see. Yeah, it looks like we are now live. A couple of people in the chat. Nice to see you all. Thanks for turning up. Hey, there's, yes, hi, yes, everybody's see, and we can all hear me okay, obviously, yes, hey, oh, everybody's flooding in, hey. Right, hi everybody, yeah, it's been a couple of months since I did a live stream last. Thought that it was, just thought it was about time for another one. Keep you updated on the state of the channel. Well, I'll reveal the next couple of videos that are coming up today, some of the other stuff that's been going on. And yeah, we'll just sit, we'll have a little bit of a chat. I'll take some questions. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. The what do you call it? The super chat, that's on there too. Yeah, and we'll hang out here for an hour and a half. What time is it now? 6 o'clock. Maybe eat your dinner. Maybe a little stream to go along with your dinner if you're in the same time zone as me. Your lunch if you're on the east coast of America. Your breakfast if you're on the more. Oh, this is a good time, isn't it? This is a sort of a dinner, lunch, breakfast time for for America and the UK. If you're somewhere other than that, I don't know. You just watch along and enjoy. You don't have to eat. Eating isn't a requirement to watch along. Let's see. Where will we start today? Yeah, there you go. It's, Myriad Media Musing says it's 10 a.m. So it could be a brunch stream. Oh, 10 is still time to eat your breakfast. I rarely eat my breakfast before 10 a.m. these days. Oh, well, there's Ian123110. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, thank you for turning up at this hour of the night. I'd be in my bed. Oh gosh, we've got people from all over. Where is it 1 a.m.? I see there's some there. Wow, not Batman in from 3 a.m. in Australia. You know, there's Comics y Otros Vicios in from Peru. Gosh, you know, I really do appreciate everyone from all around the world tuning in and knowing that you're watching the videos and everything. I wish that there was more way for me to make the videos available with other subtitled languages and everything on them, but YouTube took away that ability for the community to add captions to videos, and I don't want them to be put on other channels with different subtitles, except for the one or two that I've previously given the approval to do that with. So I'm really grateful to know that people from around the world to this extent tune in. You know, I every once in a while I'll put a video up about a certain subject, and that subject will just happen to have an unusual following in one area of the world, or the video itself might mention a region of the world that's other than the UK, America, and Japan, where most, you know, Transformers stuff happens, and people will just be really excited to hear that region of the world mentioned. I remember when I did the Jumpstarters video, there's a lot of talk of the Brazilian versions of the Jumpstarters, the Estrela toys, the Salt Man, and lots of comments from Brazilians in that who were just excited to hear Brazil mentioned. But then also we got folks in from the UK and Ireland as well, so hey, it's all good. Okay, well, Ryan Belmont starting off with a question there. Will I ever do a basics on Metroplex? And I will, definitely. I was always... For a while there, I was waiting for the Titan, the Cybertron Metroplex Titan to be properly revealed. But that was a while ago now, so I should really get around to that Metroplex. As I'm always saying when I do these streams and people ask questions, will I do this subject, that subject? The answer is almost always yes, and oftentimes I will have thought about them before, and then I'll just not have thought about them for a while, and then someone here, or in the comments, or in the chat, will remind me, and I'll go, oh yeah, why haven't I done that video yet? That's just how it always goes. But as to what, let's see, what do we got? We got 200 people watching already. I'll go another couple of minutes before I start with the reveals, just to give people time to trickle in. We've only been live for 5 minutes after all. We'll just see what everyone's saying in the chat for a little bit. Let's see, Drake Redwing Official wonders if I would ever do another dub of the IDW comics. I wouldn't say no, but that was a very of the moment decision, because that issue was new. The Megatron and Ravage scene that I dubbed, that was new when I did it, and it was just very of the moment. And obviously the IDW comics are over now, so we'll just see what comes next. I mean, I'm still very interested and eager to find out what's happening with Transformers comics next, but I am okay with waiting a little while before they come back. You know, you can't miss them if they don't go away, and they've gone away now. And now it's just been long enough. Let me just get rid of that person who is talking crap. Oh, where's the? Oh, there they are. Beg your pardon. Sorry, there's all sorts of silly questions in that. My honest opinion on Bayformers. Hey, I'm looking forward to Rise of the Beasts. We'll talk more about Rise of the Beasts later on. You know, I own all the films on Blu-ray. I've watched them all more than once. I wouldn't sit here and claim they were good films, but I will sit here and say I've owned them, I've watched them, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Oh, Wave Rod asks, I do the basics on, what sort of things would go into the advanced info on? Just go and read the wiki page, I think is the answer to that, and get really lost in the weeds. You know, I've always described my videos as sort of primers. So if you read them, and then you'll be able to make sense of all the different wiki pages. You know, all the little nitty gritty bits of continuity that don't form a bigger picture for the character. You know, I try and focus in on the. I've been making an effort recently with some of the scripts I've been working on to really step back and try do more bigger picture stuff. And I found, you know, for a while there, I was getting a little too into describing the complete journey of the character within a single continuity, every major thing they did, the exact circumstances of their deaths and all that if they died. And I was like, you know, but none of that stuff actually mattered to who they were as a character. Oh my goodness, excuse me, I beg your pardon. Mattered to who they were as a character. And I'm trying to step back and to cover the characters and things in more of a bigger picture lately. That's the way I've been thinking about videos lately. But then sometimes, you know, you get characters that you can't really step back in bigger picture in it. Speaking of characters, hey, yeah, so I said, while you're all here today, I said that I would reveal some of the the subjects of the next couple of videos that are coming up. I realize I've got the wrong window open here to change it over. So coming up next Saturday, this is one that gets asked for quite a lot in the comments, and I was always a little surprised to see it asked for, but people kept asking for it, and I thought, there's not much there, is there? But then I started thinking more about it, and I realized, no, there definitely is enough to make a full-length basics on Crosshairs. Will be next Saturday's episode. I really sat down and started thinking about this character, and I was like, gosh, yes, there's quite a, the original Crosshairs never a very big, significant character, but there's a lot to cover there with all the different interpretations of the Target Master process. You got the cartoon, the comic, the Japanese stuff, and then there have been quite a few different uses of the Crosshairs name. The odd one being like the Age of Extinction characters, kind of the funny exception, because all the other Crosshairs are actually, although they look very different, they have the same core personality as the original. And yeah, a lot of people have been asking for this one for a long time, and I thought, sorry, just reading something in the chat there. Is there a bot floating around in the chat? I don't see him, but I will ban it when it next speaks if there's a bot advertising filth in there. Yeah, so Crosshairs, that is coming up next Saturday. It'll be up for Patreon. The early access post for Patreon will be up hopefully on Monday. And yeah, then this one will be next Saturday. So I hope you'll enjoy that one. And we'll talk about some of the other stuff that's coming up in a little while. A question in there from Nine-Tailed Naruto 11A asks if I've been seeing Earthspark. A big name drop happened that explained the plot. Yes, I have been watching Earthspark. I'm fully up to date with Earthspark. I'm assuming the name drop you're referring to is the Prime hinted at from the first episode. Yes, I'm really enjoying Earthspark. I had very high hopes for Earthspark when it was announced. When it was announced, we were going back to 22-minute, half-hour, 26 episode seasons of half-hour shows, and that it was being show-run by Nicole Dubuque of Rescue Bots. So I was already very excited for it, and then more and more, like, it was a proper union voice cast with lots of big names in it, names you'd recognize, and it just gradually became aware that money was being spent on this, which is just the last couple of years of Transformers cartoons have not felt like they have had money spent on them. And yeah, I'm really enjoying Earthspark, and I'm hoping that they do announce when the next batch of episodes will drop soon. I'm guessing it'll probably be late summer, and they'll want it to come out after Rise of the Beasts, I think. But yeah, I've really been enjoying it. I really like the new Terrans in particular. The second batch, Hashtag and Jawbreaker and Nightshade. I think Jawbreaker's my favorite, but we'll see when he gets his alternate mode and the character sort of becomes complete. But I think Jawbreaker's my favorite of the new guys. Treebot Reviews asks about the basics on Nightbeat. That's from their channel. Their channel has breached 100. Is that 100 subs or 100,000? Either way, congratulations. Basics on Nightbeat. Yeah, just like I was saying at the top of the show, another example of one I often think about, but just haven't got around to. Although there is if I'm remembering right, and I'm sure somebody in the chat can correct me if I'm not, I seem to remember that a leak suggested there might be a new Nightbeat toy coming this year, next year. So, as always, I'll wait to see. That's when it's a series like Legacy, currently in particular, where a character can come from anywhere. I'm trying to be a bit more careful about producing episodes that then aren't immediately outdated. Didn't work out with Dion, obviously. Did the Dion episode in January, and just over a month later, they announced there was going to be a new Dion toy. I did end that video by talking about the possibility there might be a new Dion toy, but it wasn't either of the suggestions that I put forth in the video. I try not to cover I try to wait until like someone's got a newest toy, but sometimes it's impossible, but other times I try and hold back. It's like for the Stunticons, I was waiting until all the Stunticon Legacy toys were revealed, and fortunately the Breakdown's appearance in Earthspark came in just in time to get into that video. So that video seems like it'll probably be all right for a little while. It's like, that's why I wouldn't, for instance, do a video about Quintus Prime right now, because I got to see what way that plot shakes out in Earthspark. It's why I'm not going, although I want to, and probably would have done it already this year if it wasn't for Earthspark. I do want to do an updated Soundwave. He's one of my oldest videos that oldest character videos that most needs an update, but I feel like we got to see how that plot that he's got cooking in Earthspark shakes out before I'll feel happy doing that. After the end of the first season, I feel like it'll probably be okay to do any updates, you know. Sorry, I saw one that popped up there that yes, Philip Mogadam asks, how come you didn't talk more about Laserbeak's role in the IDW comic? Because that's what I was saying before. I'm trying to go big picture. All I would be describing would be how he talked crap and died. You know, there's no big character journey. There's no big significant, you know. Sometimes not everything a character does is worthy of reference, you know, and just because they died, it doesn't mean they died a significant or meaningful death. Unlike, say, Cosmos, in the video that just came out last weekend, where his death was the culmination of his accepting his life on Sanctuary and all that. You know, that was worthy of mentioning, you know. And this is just my opinion, but you know, never let it be said that my personal opinion can't influence a video, because it does sometimes, you know. Jolene Blake asks, would you do basics? Oh, Jolene Blake, friend of the channel, subbed. What are you up to now, Joe? Three videos Jolene sponsored, I think. Would you do a basics on Diaclone, or do you think it's already been covered by the invention of the Transformers? Half and half, I suppose. Obviously, you know, there's definitely more that could be said about Diaclone, but I wonder if, I mean, okay, I'll put it this way. In the same way that I could do a video about the basics on the Headmasters, or the basics on Master Force, or the basics on Beast Machines, or any of the individual Unicron trilogy shows, where I've done a big overarching episode about all of it. I could definitely dig down and do an episode about Diaclone, but I don't know that I would rush to do it. I feel like I could. I feel like there's stuff to say there that I didn't say in the original video, and I feel like more stuff is getting translated and becoming wider known about Diaclone quite often, quite regularly. So yeah. Ian1231 string of numbers says, which Basics episode did you like working on the most? That's a hard question. I'm not sure. I couldn't pin it down, but if there is one, it's probably a Beast Wars one. I do love writing about Beast Wars characters, and people have often said to me that you can really sense my love for Beast Wars. People say when I like something, when I'm really particularly passionate about a specific character or subject, they feel like they can see that in the video or hear that it comes across in the video, and I think that's probably the Beast Wars characters. It's probably whatever Beast Wars character I most recently did. Who is the most recent Beast Wars character I did? Is it Rat Trap? Rat Trap was, gosh, that was last summer. Well, don't worry, there'll be more Beast Wars characters coming this year. Obviously, there's a film. Speaking of Beast Wars, Dino Shot asks, would you ever do a Basics on some more obscure Beast Wars characters? Before I read out the next line of the question, obviously with Beast Wars, there's obscure, and then there's appeared in a panel in the IDW comic once. So there are a lot of Beast Wars characters I couldn't really do anything with. But an example Dino Shot gives here is Magmatron. Magmatron, yes, definitely could do something with Magmatron. There's all of Beast Wars Neo for that character. There's a very different approach to the character in the Beast Wars Neo manga as well, so I would definitely cover that. The Beast mangas aren't always worth mentioning, but in the case of Magmatron it would be. And he's got the IDW comics as well, so that's just enough. Don't think it would be a long episode, but maybe an obscure character, probably just a regular one. Yes, no, I could definitely could do one for Magmatron. Excuse me. Ooh, splash. Dat Boy Goatee asks, when's the Basics on Chris McFeely? That's never going to be a video, but, what do you want to know? And I'll tell you. Ask it here and now, and I'll tell you if I can, Just below that, Z-Man1025 asks, what Japanese teams do you want to cover, like the Trainbots or the Dino Force? Trainbots are very high on the list, literally at this point just waiting for the last of the Masterpiece toys to be properly revealed. Then we'll do the Trainbots, yeah. And there'll probably be some manga about them in this year's new Generations magazine book. So I'll need that, but that'll be in midsummer, and I'm sure we won't have proper pictures of official pictures of a combined Raiden until near the end of the year. So, excuse me. So yeah, and the Dino Force, they are almost certainly going to wind up being folded in with Monstructor. And to peel back the curtain a little bit, Monstructor was going to be last year's Halloween episode, but then like a couple of weeks before Halloween, the news of the the core class legacy Dinobots, the new combining core class Dinobot figures, that came out, and it was immediately obvious to everybody that they're going to be retooled to create Dino King. And if I'm going to do Dino King in the same video as Monstructor, then that's another example of I need to wait for that toy to come out, not even come out, to be properly announced, because they haven't said anything about it officially yet, before I could do a video on Dino King. So that, yeah, I do want to do them. I almost did do them, but yeah. Let's see. Asking about who's that? Kuro Titan 7125 asks about Magnificus. I don't know if there's enough to Magnificus. What he said, no, I don't know if there is enough to Magnificus to talk about. Which is a shame. I mean, I always feel like it's probable that just the longer we go on in time, the greater likelihood that these guys are going to show up in some new media, and then there'll be enough to talk. Like, I wouldn't have thought I could get a Basics out of Toxitron, but with the announcement of the new toy, I sat down and thought about it, and I was like, no, so Toxitron is currently planned for this year's Obscure Characters Month. So you never know. You never know what could happen that would make somebody worthy of... Worthy? No, that's not... Everybody's worthy. Sometimes they just don't have enough to talk about. Sometimes I think I'd like to talk about a character and think, oh, that there isn't really... Carnivac, good example, you know, a popular character from the very late stages of the UK comic, the UK Marvel comic from the... I guess that would have been the... Would it have been the... No, it was the late... I was going to say early 90s, but it would have been the late 80s when he had his little story. And there's Marvel, and he had a story in IDW, and that's it. And it's just not quite enough, which is a, you know, a real shame, you know. But, you know, maybe he'll get another toy or another appearance in something one day, and hey, and then it could happen, you know. DJ asks, hey Chris, I really appreciate what you do for the fandom. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy it. If I may ask, what was that specific or special thing about Transformers that hooked you way back when? Gosh, I wish I could answer that. I wish I had an answer for that. I don't remember. I can always say that the first Transformers toy I ever had was either G1 Starscream or G1 Snarl. I got Starscream for Christmas and Snarl for my birthday, but I don't remember in which order. I don't remember which came first, and I don't remember if it was the cartoon I saw first or if it was the comic. Transformers has, if you'll pardon the flowery nature of the sentence, it's always been there. I don't remember before it. It's just always been with me. No, I fell out of it as we all do when we pretend we've grown up. But Beast Wars brought me back, and so I mean that's the thing that I can really point to as being responsible for why I'm here today is Beast Wars. When it came out, it was, what was it? Was it the Easter bank holiday in the UK in 1997, or maybe it was a bank holiday weekend. I want to say it was the Easter bank holiday in 1997, and they showed part 1 one day and part 2 the next day, if I recall. And I missed part 1, but I saw part 2. I taped part 2. I must have watched part 2 half a dozen times that day. That was it. That was instant. I was back, and I never left after that. So yeah, Beast Wars. Beast Wars subject there. Jordan Phelps asks, can we get the basics on the Nemesis? Yes, definitely. But we've got to wait for that new Nemesis toy that they've just announced to get some proper pictures. That's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about, where I think it was not leaked, but it was rumored for a long time that there was a legacy Nemesis Titan coming. And I held off on doing the Nemesis. I did the video on the Ark, so yeah. Good question from Novacore. What side of the fandom were you on when Beast Wars debuted? Well, I would never say I wasn't in online fandom yet. It was Beast Wars was the reason I decided to search up Transformers on the internet and get into online fandom. But when I first saw the Beast Wars toys in a toy catalogue that came with something else, it would have been a toy my brother had as well, because I wasn't buying toys or anything at that time. I was horrified. Optimus Primal, Dinobot as a guy. No, the Dinobots are a bunch of guys. Oh, this guy's just called Chichi Tour. What is this crap? Yes, no, I was 100% one of those guys. Absolutely. Then I saw that one episode, and I was like, oh yeah, no, sorry, all questions rescinded. Done and this is excellent, in fact, and I've been. It's been one of my favorites ever since, if not my absolute favorite. Sometimes I go back and forth, but Beast Wars does tend to always come out on top when people ask me what my favorite Transformer series is. Speaking of beasts, Mark Morales 1516 asks, how will you update the basics for the Revenge for the Rise of the Beasts cast? Would you update your previous episodes or dedicate them to a separate episode? I would do new episodes for them. But this is the simple problem, is like some of those episodes are a little too recent to update. So the larger question is, no, I don't ever want to do separate update episodes. My aim with the channel, with my videos, has always been everything you need to know in one place. You don't have to bounce off and watch another video to get the next bit of the story or anything. So it'll always be about updating and turning it into a complete picture. So Primal is old enough to warrant an update. Chichi Tour is old enough to warrant an update because he's also had Cyberverse in between times, as well as Kingdom and the IDW Beast Wars comic and now the film as well. Airraiser I haven't done a video on yet. And who's the other Maximal? Rhinox. Rhinox, it wouldn't be a very interesting update because poor old Rhinox just never really gets to do much anymore. He's just the big guy who stands in the background. So the other guys, yes, but Rhinox isn't quite there yet. Likewise, Scourge. No, that video's not old enough to warrant being updated again with Rise of the Beast Scourge just being stuck on the end. Nightbird, on the other hand, has had so much stuff happen. She's been in Cyberverse, she's had a masterpiece, now she's in a film. Yeah, Nightbird could get a ground-up remake off the back of that, and Battletrap hasn't had a video yet, but that would be folded into a Duocons video. There's another one from Ian who asks, is it Febrere or Fereb? The heart says, wait, which way around is it? Sorry, I always have trouble actually deciphering the acronyms. The head says Febrere. No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What's it? Hang on, I can't read this. The head says Febrere, but the heart says Fereb. That's how I always answer that question, and I normally don't stumble over the answer quite as badly as that. The head says Rumble is red, but the heart says Rumble is blue. Dartherian asks, basics on Lio Convoy. Did it last year? And he's just had the Legacy toy since, so there's no great need to update that video yet. So yeah, no basics on Lio Convoy. That's been done. You can go and check that out right now. Well, preferably wait till after the stream, but yeah. How's that pronounced? Isipal says, you have a very specific way to title certain characters. For example, you never say Unicron, you always say the monster planet Unicron. Any specific reason or that, or just personal preference? It's a little of both. My personal preference is that I am always giving context for certain things within videos. So I'll usually say if I'm mentioning somebody for the first, say I'm talking about Powerglide, and I want to talk about the time he fought Ramjet, Thrust, and Dirge. Well, I'll say Powerglide fought the Decepticon jets, Ramjet, Thrust, and Dirge, so that just in case anybody. Well, not just in case, because I often hear from people who are just re-entering Transformers, who have no experience of Generation 1 and don't know who all the characters are. And that's who the videos are for, you know? So I always want to contextualize and make sure people know who and what I'm talking about anytime I mention them. So in Unicron's case, it's usually the Monster Planet Unicron, but sometimes I'll say the Dark God Unicron, depending on the continuity, depending how much what I think is important to get across. You will find examples of both these in the video that's coming up. Now, we've already announced that Crosshairs, that's next Saturday's videos, but then 2 weeks after that, the next video after that, you'll find some Monster Planet and some Dark God action in the basics on Dark Energon. I can't do that. I was recording this episode recently, and I tried to do a little bit of the old Jeffrey Combs, a little bit of the Dark Energon, and I can't do it naturalistically the way he does it. So yep, it's just Dark Energon. And you might think that that's something that there's not a lot to talk about, because you really just got War for Cybertron and Transformers Prime, but this is really about the energy and powers of Unicron. So we'll be covering Angomwa energy from the Japanese Beast shows, and the Dark Essence, and the story of Shockeract, and how those things have come together over the years, and how they've been conflated and overwritten by Dark Energon. This is quite an interesting one. I'm working on this one right now. I'm really quite enjoying this one. I think it'll be a good one. It's a little unusual. Somebody might be like, "What?" I always like to do I like to break up a bunch of character episodes with an episode about a concept. I always think that there are a couple of basic categories I break the episodes down into. There's characters and concepts and series. I haven't done a series one in absolutely ages, but the last bunch of them I didn't get many views, so I've kind of backburnered anything I was planning for that for a while. There's also a fourth one, a sort of somewhere between concept and character is teams or groups, so it's sort of 3.5 categories I break them down into. But Dark Energon is definitely a concept with a lot more to say about it than you might expect. So yeah, look forward for that one in about this is about 3 weeks. Dark Energon, about 3 weeks time. Now someone just asked me about another video I was in recently, and that is something else I wanted to talk about while I was on here today, because there's been it wasn't planned to turn out this way, but it did. I wound up a lot of collaborations that I'd done with other Transformers YouTubers all landed around the same time in the last month or so. So you might have seen some of them, you might not have, but I just wanted to do today a little rundown of the individual stuff that I've been doing, other places you can find me on YouTube, basically. So the first one that came out, there'll be links to all of these in the description below. Wait, actually, I don't know if I can add that now while I'm live on the stream, but they'll all be added. The links will all be added to the description when the stream is over. Anyway, that's definitely. So you'll get the links to all these separate videos down there. The first one I did was I was on with TRDQ with Gav Spence. He called me up. When was it? He called me up one day, and I think 2 days later we hopped on Zoom to record it. It's a very deep and specific. It really dug down into the specifics of the character of Metal Hawk and his history and who he is and who he isn't. And if you want to just see me just eat up so much time in one of Gav's you may detect the sarcasm in my tone. No, I love Gav stuff. He's pretty much the one Transformers YouTuber where when I get the flash that there's a new video out, I'll stop what I'm doing and watch it right away, because they're always so short and punchy. And I've always said before, I don't really watch a lot of any really Transformers YouTubers except for Gav and Thew, because I don't want my first experience of a toy to be someone else showing me how to transform it, walking me through it. But Thew and Gav are always reviewing slightly older toys. And, well, not in this case, though, to be fair, not in the case of Metal Hawk. And they're always just fun, and they have great personality. And when Gav messaged me and asked if I wanted to do something, I was like, yes, absolutely, let's get on and do it. Let's do it right now. Oh, and there's Gav in the credits saying, this video is proof that a little worm can sometimes land a big fish. Gav, stop it. Gav and I are both as big as each other in real life. There's a question in from This Channel Will Return, saying they have a couple of questions. Will I ever do the basics on Brians or Wheelie? Brians, I don't think there's enough to, but Wheelie, yeah, definitely would cover Wheelie sometime soon. Now that he's had his little studio series toy, it's like him and Rekgar and Cup are the last big characters out of the film, so I will get to him eventually. And they also say I don't cover the movies a lot. Why is that? I mean, I don't do individual videos about the individual movies, but I cover the movies as much as they warrant covering. Like, I've done the videos about the big original characters like Barricade and Blackout, and well, as I said, yeah, coming up just next week, of course, Crosshairs. But otherwise, there aren't a lot of brand new characters or characters in the movie with where the movie character is necessarily the most famous version, or I don't feel like I don't cover the movies, honestly. That's I cover them as much as they warrant coverage, or as much as they influence the bigger picture in any of the videos that I want to talk about. But plenty of movie stuff in Crosshairs. I think Crosshairs, it might be like a solid 50-50 between G1 stuff and movie stuff. So hopefully you'll enjoy that one. let's see. Okay, one more question before I jump on to the next thing. There's another one from Ian Bunch of Numbers. Of all the newly revealed figures, which one am I looking forward to the most? Well, I'm quite looking forward to Beachcomber. Who was the other one that was revealed in Braun? They announced Braun. We didn't even see him, but as soon as they said they were going to do Braun in Studio Series, I was like, yes, Braun, that's my boy. I love Braun, love a bit of Braun. Really look forward to a nice new Braun figure, even though it hasn't, been revealed yet. The Nemesis, it looks good. I'm sort of trying to reconcile how much it's going to cost with how much I like the look of it. Mm-hmm. What else did they reveal? Somebody remind me. I'm struggling to remember now. I was there. I watched the Armada Megatron. That was of course, that's my favorite. Armada Optimus Prime. That is Toy of the Year material. Commander Optimus Prime. I'm so looking forward to that one. I was always a huge fan of the original Armada Optimus Prime toy anyway, and I was a little about a version of the toy that removes its gimmick. I love the Armada toys. They are the way they are, and they look the way they look. Because of the gimmickry that was built into them, and while I understand necessarily the appeal for a version of the toy without the gimmickry, to me I feel like they lose a lot of their charm in that way. That's kind of what I feel about the Armada Megatron figure. It just feels to me, it looks nice, its ankles can tilt, his arms can, but it feels like it's missing something to me. I'm still gonna get it. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. I'm still gonna get it, but it just simply, the vibe is off. It feels like it's missing something. But Prime is looking just tremendous. That's my most anticipated toy of the year, is Commander Armada Optimus Prime. Yes. General Perry says, do I know if it's true that Hotspot is going to make an appearance in Rise of the Beasts? Not a rumor I've heard, but I try not to pay attention to any of the big rumors. Any of the rumors, surrounding the movie, because I want to watch the film without spoilers. Like, I've heard the big theory about who the Terracons are and who Scourge is. I have no idea if there's any basis for that theory. I'm not saying what's dis on here. If you want to spoil yourselves, you can go and look it up yourselves. Don't spoil it in the comments for everyone else, anybody out there. If you know, you know, and if you don't, you can go and look it up. I'm not spoiling it here. I wish I didn't know myself, but I don't know if there's any basis for that theory or if it is just a random fan theory, and we'll just wait for the film to come out and see. I won't be chasing up any spoilers or leaks or anything like that. My opinion on the design of Rise of the Beasts Wheeljack, Blaster Trono says, I like it. He's a 90s nerd. He's Urkel, big square glasses, buck teeth, clearly. I have absolutely... It's been 5 years since there was last a Transformers film, 6 years since there was last a Bayverse film, and I feel like people forgot how the live-action Transformers movies design philosophy works. It's like, oh, he doesn't look anything like the G1 character. Yeah, join the club. What are you bent out of shape about? It's all right, I don't care. He looks good. He's voiced by Danny Rojas from Ted Lasso. I think I'm going to like the guy. Silas Breakdown asks, when I get around to Rumble and Frenzy, are you going to do them as a together or a separate video? Together. I decided that a long time ago. Rumble and Frenzy would be best talked about in a video together, because then that way I can talk about Firib, and they so rarely appear apart from one another. Although with Frenzy turning up in Earthspark, that does give Frenzy the edge, definitely. He's got the movies and then the female version in Earthspark. I still think the best way to cover them is together, but we'll see, Anyway, right. So, yes, got sidetracked there. Yes. So, I did the first collab I did was with Gav. Then just recently released was with Commodin Cam. His huge video. How long was it? 6 hours in the end, I think. Ranking every Transformers G1 episode. Where I got on there to talk about one of my favorite G1 episodes, a Decepticon raider in King Arthur's court. One of my favorites since I first saw it. Didn't see it back in the 80s. Saw it whenever it came out in Generation 1. In Generation 2. That was when I first saw it. It became an instant favorite because I was always a big fan of time travel stories. So whenever Cam approached me and asked if I wanted to join in on this one, I was like, yes, is this episode still available? Didn't have to think about that one too much. So yeah, Cam had a little trouble with this video, with copyright stuff and everything. I think it's still up now. I think he solved that problem, and it's up there for everybody to watch now. It's a big long watch, and I'm not the only one on there. Obviously, it's the ultimate collab, he called it. So there's loads of other Gavs on there, and Thews on there, and just loads and loads of guys talking about. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the final ranking, but that's Cam's choice. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to just get on and gush a little bit about an episode I really enjoyed. Adam Henson just asks there, would I do a basics on Tarantulas? Yes, definitely. Tarantulas, I feel, is probably gonna come this year. I got Beast content lined up for later in the year because of Rise of the Beasts, but Tarantulas will definitely. Yeah, Tarantulas is a good one because he's got what went on in IDW, and now he's just had Earthspark as well. And obviously, it might be an idea to wait out Earthspark till the full end of its first season, just to see if he comes back for anything. I feel like that character is gonna return. It's just the nature of like a CGI show like this is they're probably not designing fully transformable CGI character models to just use them in one episode. So I feel like anybody is game to return in that show. So I have to approach anybody who's in it carefully. Oh well, I think I'm gonna bounce back and forth here, but I see Jordan Phelps has just asked, is it possible for the basics on the Viacons? And yes, it is. That will be coming next month. That is the second of the two videos for, what month is this? This is April. This is the second of the two videos in May. Dark Energon and Viacons will be the second video in May. So this is a little bit of Beast content in the run-up to in Rise of the Beasts. There's no real overlap. I just wanted to talk about Viacons. Bit of Beasts, bit of Prime, little bit of some. This is, as I say, with team videos or group videos, somewhere between a concept and a character. You know, talking a little bit about the use of drone armies in Transformers media. Some of the other major examples, Seacons, Terracons. But yeah, this video about the Viacons. I've been working on this one recently as well. A little tougher to write than I actually expected it to be, but I always enjoy writing about the beasts. So, yeah, so that one's coming up. So, well-timed question there, Jordan. That one is coming in May. So those are the next three videos. Those are the subjects that I will be revealing to you today. No more reveals as far as new videos go. But that's Crosshairs later this month, in a week's time. And then in May, you get Dark Energon and the Viacons. And then after that, it's June, and that's Rise of the Beasts month. And I will just say that I have plans for June. There's going to be more than the average number of videos in June, all being well, the schedule keeping well, no misfortune occurring. And we will be doing, I will be in the cinema day one for Rise of the Beasts to get it watched and make sure that everything that follows that month will be up to date as possible. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the film, and I'm excited to. I don't think it would be very difficult for any of you to guess what some of the subjects will be. I will let you speculate in the comments. I will neither confirm nor deny, but there are subjects that will be covered that people have been asking for a while, and I think you should be able to guess what they are. Shaden99 asks in there, hi Chris, how are you? Doing pretty well. Always a pleasure to be here among the listeners, among watchers, listeners, chatters, among everybody. I hope you are doing great. Sorry for being a pain. Not a pain at all, but when will we get the basics on Dead End? I don't know when. I wouldn't say that it's likely this year, the way the schedule is currently mapped out. It will definitely happen. Obviously, I said in the Stunticons video that I would do a Basics on Dead, and I fully plan to. There's the Generation 1 character, there's Beast Wars Neo, Armada, the movies. There's lots of Dead Ends. There's... yes, that will be a nice, full and rich video about a character I'm quite fond of the original incarnation of. But, as I always say, anytime I do a video about one subject, the Stunticons say, it will always inevitably be followed by people asking, or people saying or requesting, we'll now do a related subject. So I always go back to the example when I did Slug last year. It was immediately followed by people going, well, now do Swoop, now do Sludge. And I'm like, I will do those, but I want to space them out. I never like to drop a bunch of videos of such closely related content all at once unless there's a reason for it, as with Rise of the Beasts. And even with Rise of the Beasts, the connecting theme will just be, these are things that are in the film, not, all members of the same group or anything like that. So now that I've done the Stunticons video, I want to wait a while before I do any more Stunticons. Same with Breakdown. I do want to do a Breakdown video. I will do a Breakdown video, but it will always be spaced out in that way. Adam Henson finds it odd that the Predacons aren't the villains in Rise of the Beasts. Optimus Primal without Beast Wars Megatron is weird. I don't, for some reason I don't find it that odd. I understand definitely anybody who would find it odd. But I don't know, for whatever reason it just works for me. It's like, we don't know, but I'm assuming the approach is that the Maximals have come back in time from the future to warn the Autobots about the approach of the Terrorcons, which is more interesting than just the Predacons. I think that it's some terrible apocalyptic future threat that people from the future have had to come back and warn them about. It winds up, it allows the Predacons to just be the Predator. I mean, there is still, there's a Scorponok toy in the Rise of the Beasts toy line, and people are wondering if that means that Predacons will appear in any capacity, or if the Scorponoks might just be like generic foot soldiers, in the same way that the Scorponoks were just generics in the Kingdom cartoon. I don't know, I've got to wait to see the film to find out, but I don't mind it, but I understand how it could be a little odd, But I feel like the term Predacon is so widely used for so many... No, that doesn't... I was going to say the term Predacon is so widely used for so many things, maybe they didn't want to do another interpretation of it, but then the term Terrorcon is used for just as many wide and varied things in Transformers lore, so, that argument doesn't hold any water, does it? Dark Paladin asks if it's possible to do a basics on multiversal singularities. I don't think I would do a specific video on that subject, but I would do one. I've always sort of wanted to do one about the multiverse as a concept, the way the streams work, the idea of the trans tech or the alternity or the cloud transformers, Guardians of the Multiverse, the multiversal order, just how it generally works, and singularities would definitely be a part of that. I always feel like that is really just skirting the edge of the basics, though, because that is so much a thing that, I'm sorry, doesn't matter anymore in Transformers lore now that FunPub isn't producing now that Fun Publications isn't producing new Transformers stories. Transformers lore, and since multiversal singularities got wiped away, Transformers lore is just not bothered about that anymore, and I'm personally, I'm really grateful for that. It was always just too much, just a real drudge to me to get lost in the sauce like that. Just so, as a franchise, just as stories, just up its own bum about that stuff, and I've always felt it's proper in the weeds, lost in the sauce stuff that really skirts the edges of something that anybody wanting to learn about the basics even needs to know about, if you know what I mean. Again, just my personal opinion, and it probably wouldn't stop me about making a video about the multiverse if the time ever felt right about it. But that's probably why I haven't done that yet, to be honest. It was in my mind, from the very, very start of doing the basics. That was something that was in my mind, because back when I started the basics, I was thinking only in the biggest terms, like, how does continuity work? How do characters work? What are the creation myths? How does their biology work? How does the cosmology work? How does the multiverse work? So I've had the idea for the video for nearly 6 years now, but I've just never felt compelled to make it, Seth Lowry says I'd love to see a basics on Quick Strike. That's a great example of something I was talking about earlier on, where I was saying how it'd be nice to do. I'd love to do it. Hey, it's Quick Strike, yeehaw and all, and such a Beast Wars character, but there's nothing there. There's Beast Wars. Then the name got reused for a repaint in Energon. There was the Wolf in Beast Machines. and I guess he inspired that was it Dark of the Moon? Yeah, that Dark of the Moon character, Darksteel, was based on Quickstrike. But that might be just enough for like an obscure characters month length episode, but it feels weird to call Quickstrike, a main Beast Wars cartoon cast member for 2 full seasons, an obscure character. But it'd be difficult to justify doing like a full length episode about him because he doesn't have much of an impact on history. God love Quickstrike, but even within Beast Wars, he's the other guy. He has no arc, no story. Everybody in Beast Wars, most characters in Beast Wars, really do have like a journey or a big part of the larger arcs that the show is telling. Quickstrike, he's just there, God love him. And yeah, there's not a lot to talk about with Quickstrike, but it wounds me to know that, for I do love Beast Wars, so I have to, but these are the thoughts I have to have. This is the way I have to look at these things. Horn Doyle says, your videos have been an amazing resource for the TF role-playing game I am running, especially the world-building ones, colonies, space bridges, etc. I'm glad. I really do enjoy writing the world-building ones. There are only a few like really big world-building topics I feel like I haven't covered yet. Sparks being a big one, and Dark Energon is, as it's coming up, that feels like one as well. I'm glad. I don't know if you're using the official TF role-playing book to run that game or not. I haven't looked into that at all. I'm not a role-playing guy, so it wouldn't be my cup of tea. But I'm genuinely glad to know that that these videos can help in that way. That's what I make them for. That's what they're for, and I'm glad that they're able to find their audience in that way. I'm eternally grateful to know that they're helping anybody create or do anything. JT is repeatedly asking a question in the comments there, and I do see it. I'm not ignoring it, because that's the other. Sorry, I've bounced back and forth between videos and collabs here. Yes, but so collabs, mentioned it before. Collab with TRDQ with Gav talking about Metal Hawk. I was on Combaticons Ultimate G1 collab, ranking every G1 episode. And then the other one that I was on in the last couple of months was Kian Carlisle's Transformers Combaticons pilot. This was a tremendous achievement by Kian and everybody involved, I have to say. If you haven't seen this, you really have to go and watch this. This is a full 22-minute animated pilot episode about the Combaticons, or Kian's vision of the Combaticons, and he brought me on to do a couple of lines. I have a tiny part in it as compared to the big involvement that everyone else has. There are some little bits in it where they needed a documentarian. The characters watch a documentary to teach them about the evil threat that they are facing down in the episode. And in answer to JT's question, how did I get involved? Kian came to me and asked if I'd like to do it, and I said yes. And there's no bigger or more complex story there. But that really was that's a tremendous, just as a fan work. That's a real achievement. I've been around a long time, and I've seen a lot of people have big intentions for fan works, and whether they're animated or stop motion or audio format, and so many of them, or comics is another example. So many of them never come to anything, peter out. The production goes on for so long, but like this. Kian put real money into this, and real money and years of work. It's one of the most remarkable fan creations, like fan achievements I have seen in a long time, and I would definitely encourage. And I'm not just saying that because I do 3 lines in it. Okay, I would strongly recommend anybody go in and check it out. Right, let's close that one down for a minute. But in conjunction with that, I would also just note, because I was in it, I was just a voicing over a documentary, but late in the game, they did decide to create a visual representation for this documentarian, and Cody Lane, one of the artists who worked on the character design, did create this little headshot, which is a transformery version of my, what do you call it, my avatar picture. How's the resemblance? Yeah, no, I saw this and I loved this right away. I think I'm going to make this my new avatar to replace it. I like this so much. I got in touch with Cody. I bought this from him. I bought like the rights to use this art. I might make prints of it available. Or at least I think I'll make it my new avatar on YouTube. But yeah, this might be something I might do prints of, like for conventions and things, because I just loved it so much right away. I was very flattered to have it. I had no idea I was going to be transformerized, that there was going to be a visual representation of me in the thing. Very flattering. Great job. And I bought it. Reader, I liked it so much, I bought it. I think there was a question I missed there. Seth Larry says again, completely agree on Quick Strike. He's my fave. If you had the ability to create a Transformers show, what would be like and about? I don't know. Anytime I'm asked that question, anytime I think about it, my answer is always, I don't know. What I want, I don't know what I want. What I want is for someone to show me something I haven't seen before. That's what I always say. And that's why I've got so much time for Earthspark right now. It genuinely feels like it's doing something different. It feels fresh. Now it's doing it by twisting up. There's a lot of IDW in Earthspark, and there's a grating of Aligned in there too. But all Transformers media, like in the last 5 years, are sort of Aligned, mushed together with IDW. But the idea, like, of Transformers growing out of the Earth, as soon as I realized that's what Earthspark was about, I was like, yes. I mean, that's brilliant. That's never been done before. That's never been seen before. That's a brand new idea, and that's so much like the message of the show. What it's like. So much of the advertising, so much of the approach to Earthspark is family oriented. Like they encourage you to stream with your family. But that's not just some empty statement that they're using for all their shows. That's at the core of what Earthspark is and the way Earthspark is telling its story. Like it presents itself as a sort of pseudo-sequel to some version of G1, like the Autobots and Decepticons came to Earth and had a war in the 80s, and this is 40 years later, and now there's this new generation of Transformers literally growing out of the Earth itself, and those new Transformers, those are the kids watching at home, and the adults in the show who were there and saw the war back in the 80s, well, they're the parents watching along at home. It's a show that serves those two audiences thematically that way. And yeah, I'm really into Earthspark, you guys. Duty Chaos, great name. Duty Chaos asks, which character am I most excited about in Rise of the Beasts? Well, Primal is there, do love Primal. Ron Perlman doing the voice, looking forward to that too. But I always do like to be presented, with somebody new as well. So that, just got him over here. That's why I did have to make the first figure I got from Rise of the Beasts, Scourge. I'm really into this guy. I don't know what his deal is going to be. Peter Dinklage doing the voice. Mad Max truck mode. Got these weird tentacle fingers. And I wound up really, I heard some mixed opinions on the figure, but I wound up really enjoying it. It's just mental. This it's like a truck out of a horror movie he turns into, and he's got these peculiar proportions, the big long neck, the long skinny legs. He's unusually, he takes me back to the interesting deviations from Transformers past that you got from the older Bay movies, where you can, yes, it's a name reused, and sure, yeah, okay, he's an evil truck, so the idea of there being an evil truck like Scourge, like RID Scourge, like Robots in Disguise 2001 Scourge, it's nice to see that character being paid homage to, even if it's only in the loosest way. We'll have to see what the character is actually like in the film, but he's kind of the Terracons in general, to be honest. Nightbird in a film? Come on, yes. And she looks like she's going to be a ninja and everything. She's the right colors. And then Battletrap's just a name slap, but he's an orange pickup. And I wanted to get a Battletrap first, actually, but the store was sold out of them, so I bought a Scourge instead. Yeah, yeah, just the Terracons in general, I'm quite looking forward to. But then the Maximal's going to be on, and Rhinox is my guy. He's my favorite Maximal, and he's on the screen. I kind of don't think the movie will do very much with him, because that's Rhinox's lot. To not have very much done with him, but we'll see. David Sobolov doing the voice. He's very excited anyway, based on his social media posts about it. So I should temper my enthusiasm and excitement for Rise of the Beasts a little bit, but what can I tell you? It's been 5 years, and the Transformers, they're up there on the big screen, they're live action. It still excites me. You know, we're what, 15 years on from the first one of those movies, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, this is still the coolest thing. The Transformers are up there running around in live action with real people. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I don't apologize for it. It's cool. Yeah. Hyper Meg. Sorry, what even was that? Hyper Mega Man asks basics on RID 2001. I did that a couple of years ago. That video is up there. You can search it up. And also curious about the Omega Supreme behind me. Which way do I have to lean on this mirrored screen? Yeah, that is the Siege Omega Supreme sitting up there behind me, right next to the Earthrise Scorponok, just the big titans I plunked up on that shelf there to get them out of the way while I was doing other stuff. Omega, one of my favorite Transformers, so that figure gave me great excitement, and I always like to have him out on display somewhere. Adam Henson says Transformers toys have taken a dip in quality, floppy joints, gappy figures, and yellowing, yet prices increase. How long will it be till the community has had enough? I don't agree. I think Transformers toys are the best they've been in years right now. I think the engineering is the most on point it's been since Siege upwards. There's a solidity. I don't. You get exceptions, you know, but it's like Scourge here. He's a guy who has an almost Revenge of the Fallen level of complexity to his transformation, but there's a real precision and solidity to the way everything clips and clunks in, and pieces aren't trying to coexist in the same space at the same time. It's a fluid and elegant transformation. And yes, the truck mode is a little misshapen, but I just feel like that fits his vibe, you know. Now, I do agree they're too expensive. I won't disagree with that. And I do wonder, yes, genuinely, how long it can keep going like this until people say no more. And that's a very real danger, and a time that I feel is probably closer coming than ever. But you know, as far as floppy joints, I mean, that's just individual quality control, you know. And yellowing, that hasn't been a problem for ages now. Like, we addressed why that happened. People still make jokes about how this or that is going to yellow as soon as it comes out of the box. It was like a small clutch of figures in Earthspark on the start of Kingdom, like, and we know why. It's because they couldn't do in-person inspections of the toys because of COVID, and it hasn't been a problem since then, you know. I'm not overreactive to it in that regard. But yes, I do agree that they are too expensive for what they are. And there was a very precise example I was just thinking about. Yes, I was looking at the new Kingdom mainline Voyager Optimus Prime in the store. And I was thinking, well, I'd like a representation of the movie version of Optimus Primal. But I have the Kingdom toy. It's not very different, and it's only 2 years old, but it's bigger and cost £5 less than this one does. And it's like, I don't know if anything on earth, obviously everything is getting more expensive. The world is on fire, and there's a cost of living crisis going on. But I'm not sure if any other luxury item has, like, rocketed up in price to the extent that toys have. And I don't know. I genuinely don't know how long it can go on. I don't have the answers. My answer would be just make them cheaper. My answer would be, well, just make them cheaper and just accept that you make less on them. But that's why I'm not a capitalist. So what can you do? I still think that they're making very good toys right now. That ultimately is why I do wind up paying the money, is because I am a mug, I am hooked, I am an addict, like all the rest of us, and I still think the quality of the toys overall, you get the odd duff one, sure, but I still think the quality of the toys overall is some of the best that it's been in a long time, since Siege onward. DJ says, hopes this isn't too touchy a subject. Right, let's see. I mean, feel like that last one might have been a touchy subject, but do I have a position on the Cyclonus bombshell Skywarp debate? who even finds that touchy anymore? It's not 2002 anymore. I don't think I have a real like personal like I have a personal preference, and that's simply that I feel like the same reason anybody says I feel like Skywarp to me makes the most sense, because Scourge and Cyclonus replaced Skywarp and Thundercracker in the Decepticon Planes toy case assortment for the 1986 product line. They were literally toys designed to take the place of those two toys in the toy line. They're a purple plane and a blue plane taking the place of a purple plane and a blue plane. And that's just where... Now, absolutely no disagreement whatsoever that the animation in Transformers the movie shows Bombshell turning into Cyclonus. Absolutely. He's at the front of the screen. He's named in the storyboard. He's clearly meant to be shown by that piece of animation, turning into Cyclonus. Absolutely. But then 10 seconds later, the other Cyclonus that was there disappears and is replaced by an extra sweep. So that means that piece of animation showing their creation is wrong or retroactively erased, because that second Cyclonus never existed at all. It was really another sweep. So it's malleable, so you can make any amount of arguments. I don't think there's a real answer, but for me, I always like to think it's Skywarp. But obviously, you'll never hear that in a video, because I'll just tell you the facts the way they are. That's a video I've been wanting to make for a while, is about the sweeps and Cyclonus's armada, and then I would talk about all that crap I just talked about there in a video, but in a more sensible and well-structured way. Seth Lowry asks, who's an obscure character you want to see in a movie? Well, heck, Nightbird turning up there is kind of opens up. I mean, a guy like let's say this is a version of R.I.D. Scourge turning up in a film. That's cool. Whoever and whatever he may actually turn out to be. Who's an obscure character? I mean, my favorite guy, Rhinox, he's in a film now, I mean, Omega Supreme isn't obscure, but I'd sure love to see Omega Supreme turn up in a film. He's my guy. You never know what the movies will do next, so I don't know that I have a good answer for that one, honestly. Anyway, right. Alan Wilkinson asks, does new Transformerized You have an alt mode? Yes, he does. I don't have the picture to hand. All I posted up there before was the headshot, which I've bought the rights to, but Cody Lane did design a full body and alt mode for me as well. I don't have that picture to hand. I didn't acquire the rights to that one. I'm a news van or like a broadcasting van, if I remember correctly, to fit my news documentarian Transformer Sona personality role. What? Oh gosh! Oh, we've gone over an hour here already. I can never get. It always goes past so fast. We'll hang on here and chat a little longer. What time is it? It's 7 o'clock. I don't need my dinner just yet. There's a question in from Sam, who says, I'd like to see a Cyclonus who's a literal blend of Bombshell and Skywarp, both as a nod to that and just that the insectoid aesthetic would look neat. Well, that's it. You wonder, like, Cyclonus doesn't look like a plane because he was rebuilt out of a plane, because like the Insecticons are there and they're rebuilt out of the sweeps are rebuilt out of Insecticons, and they don't look like insects in any way. But that would be an interesting, just like a design experiment, wouldn't it? Yeah, a sort of half plane, half insect Cyclonus, just simply as an homage to that old bit of lore. Or I'd be interested to see that. Kid Convoy just below that there asks, what was your this chat jumped. What was your favourite line from the War for Cybertron toy line? Siege, Earthrise, or Kingdom? I instinctively want to say Kingdom because it had beasts in it, but it was probably Earthrise. Earthrise was really where I sat with that first wave in particular, Optimus and Hoist and Grapple, and I was looking at the toys and I was like, well, I just never need to buy another Hoist or Optimus or Grapple again. Like, these are like the little perfect miniaturized masterpieces of these characters. I don't... that was a sort of a moment I had with Earthrise that really made me realize just what I was saying, where we are with Transformers toys now, and how Earthrise, that trilogy, the what's it called, the War for Cybertron trilogy, felt like the apotheosis of everything Hasbro has been trying to do since Classics started 15 years ago. Modernized versions of Generation 1 characters. And it made me ask the question, well, what do you do next? We don't need to have new toys of a lot of these guys now. I wonder, what do you do next? And, the answer, and God bless it, Legacy came along and it provided the answer. It said, well, we're going to do other series now too. And, and that's why Legacy is so fun, because you never know what's going to pop up next in Legacy, what series it could be paying homage to. All these Armada figures. I don't know what happens next, though, after that. You reach a point. I mean, this is something I've said on stream before, and I'll say it again, but it's like after Armada and maybe a little bit of Energon, the thing is, after the Unicron trilogy, let's say, every Transformers series has been made for animation or film first, and the toys then based on those character designs. So if you want a perfect, let's say, and that's a slight exaggeration, no toy is ever perfect, but if you want a show-accurate version of anybody from Animated, or anybody from Prime, or whatever, well, those exist. But it's not like where they're creating show-accurate versions of G1 characters, or Beast Wars characters, or now Armada characters with the gimmickry removed to make them a collector-targeted action figure, let's say, and less of a child's toy. There's less and less point in doing anybody from Animated and Prime and onward, and that's why I'm totally okay with the decisions they've chosen to make with Prime RC and Prime Bulkhead and Prime Skyquake, and Animated Prowl, where they G1ified the aesthetic, because I don't need a toy of those characters looking exactly like the cartoon design, because those toys exist and were made are in my collection already. Now, I understand, people who grew up with those shows as kids and who are adults now, which makes me so very tired and old, may want those, but there's simply less reason for them to be made than perfect cartoon-based versions of characters from the series that came before that shift in how Transformers cartoons and toys were made. Oh, there are always exceptions. And the one I always jump to is Arachnid. Arachnid's Prime toy was hot garbage, and they should do another version of her for Legacy that's good. Override from Cybertron, a good example of how to update a figure. The other one was built into the original Cybertron Override figure was built entirely around a spring-loaded transformation. So the new Velocitron Override figure, there was a reason. There was room to improve on that figure. And Cybertron is a great toy line, and there's not a lot of room to improve. Like the Titan Metroplex figure does not improve on the original Titan Metroplex figure. And there was a lot of room to improve on that toy. It sits down to transform. There was room to do something different with that figure, and all it is bigger. And okay, maybe you like a bigger figure, and therefore you enjoy the toy. That's cool. That's fine with me. But not for my money, that there was no, and it did less and came with less than the original. That it's just other than being bigger, in my mind, it's a step. It's a retrograde step. It's not as good as the original. Maybe its ankles can tilt, sure, but that's not enough for me. It's like I was saying earlier about Armada Megatron. He feels like something is missing from him, because the reason that Megatron looks the way he looks is because he was designed to do not just something, but a bunch of somethings that this toy doesn't. It's anyway. I'm ranting a bit, but that's just kind of my feelings about how I wonder what comes after Legacy, because I feel like you can't do what Legacy is doing for a lot of stuff after the Unicron trilogy to the extent that you can do it for the stuff that came before the Unicron trilogy, back through Beast Wars, back through G1. And God love them, they might have to come up with something new. at some point, you know. But that's why whenever the Earthspark toys dropped, the first one I grabbed was Twitch, because hey, a brand new character, whoa, okay, her hips pop off at the slightest provocation. That's an example of a toy with, you know, worked on paper, not so great in person, but a great physical representation of the character, and it's a brand new character. That's what I want. I want to see more of that. Let's see. Transmeg53 says, never got the original Metroplex, assuming the original Cybertron Metroplex, but managed to get the Legacy for £99, so it worked for me. Yes, I keep thinking if I ever saw it in person cheap for anything less than 3 figures, I might cave and pick it up. But, you know, the price of Titans, no, I'm going to stop ranting on about price and everything now, but toys are too dear, and I'm terrified at what price the Nemesis is going to cost. Anyway, Jacob let's see, how's that? Oleksiak? Jacob Oleksiak asks, if I understand correctly, we have to wait to 2024 to get the basics on Nightbeat. I don't know. We'll see when the toy gets properly announced. I don't know if it's supposed to be part of next year's line or for later this year, but I'm probably waiting until that toy gets properly announced. So if that's not till 2024, then probably yes. Will there be a basics of non-Cybertronian Transformers like Beastbots? Beastbots. Sorry, Beastbots. I thought you were talking about a group, or like I thought you were talking about Beastbox, that third-party company. Beastbots, Velocitronians, Titans. Well, I did do a video about Titans a long time ago, so that exists already. And yes, I did a video about individual, and in fact I have a video about beast modes as well, so that's 2 of those 3 things I've done already. Beast mode, Transformers, and Titans I've done. Velocitronians, wouldn't do an episode about Velocitronians, but definitely will do an episode about Velocitron. Yes, did an episode about colony planets in general, but Velocitron specifically is the one colony planet more than any other that could definitely support a video of its own. Yes, definitely. I just didn't do it right away because, like to put a little time in between concepts. But how long ago was the colonies episode now? God, it's probably 2 years or something. I want to do an episode about Override too. That'll probably come this year sometime. Override, just because I want to do that episode about her, Drake Redwing Official asks, how open are you to working on fan projects with other Transformers fans? I know you were in Kian Carlisle's Combaticons fan film recently. I was, yeah, as I was saying, I was listing off some of the collabs that have come out in the last month that I was part of, so I'm pretty open to it. I'm busy, it takes a long time to make basics videos, but no, I'm always, I'm always open to hearing whatever you have to say. We'll, yeah, and if I can help out, I try to, if I have the time, yeah. There's another question coming from Sentinel Bay Reviews. Asks, thanks for all the work you did. Could we get a basics on the Turbo Masters? That's a good question. Turbo Masters. I sometimes wonder if there's Thunderclash is a character you hear people talking about a lot, and he's got a little bit going on. Like, he's got his original toy, there was a BotCon toy and his role in BotCon Fiction, there was IDW and IDW2 when he was a member of the Wreckers. That's definitely enough for an obscure character. And then, if I folded I hadn't really thought about it, but if I folded the other Turbo Masters in there with him, yeah, no, yeah, there could, yeah. I think it would be Turbo Masters, like maybe combined with Thunderclash, as all in one big thing together. Yeah, I could definitely see that one happening. People keep talking lately. I feel like I keep seeing it a lot. People talking about the possibility of a new Thunderclash figure. People talking about retooling Motormaster, Legacy Motormaster, to be a Thunderclash. The way there are so many leaks and website listings that come out now, it's hard to keep track anymore, and it's hard to keep track if what people are talking about has any basis in reality, or if it's just a popular fan suggestion that's taken on legs, so people repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. I mean, I'd like a new Thunderclash toy. That would be cool. I've never owned the original. I'd be too afraid to touch it now if I did. But that's me talking about how, if they were doing a new Thunderclash, I'd have to wait to do that video. But yes, I think a Turbo Masters video that would primarily probably focus on Thunderclash. Yeah, that would definitely be something I could do. Yeah, definitely. Duty Chaos says, I haven't done the basics on Titans for some time. You've done Triptychon, Omega Supreme. What about Metroplex? Well, as I said earlier on, yes, I'll get to Metroplex. It's just one I haven't thought about. But when I said the basics on Titans, I was saying specifically I've done a basics video about the concept of Titans. That's what I was saying when I said that. But yeah, I'll get to Metroplex. I don't know why I haven't done him yet. I just, as I say, I was waiting for the Cybertron figure. I'll get to him. Maybe this year? Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Suited Collectibles asks if I would redo the Prowl Basics video since I made it before Cyberverse came out. How long ago did I do Prowl? I mean, the answer is yeah. You know, once a certain amount of time passes, almost anything is. Certainly, some of the first, say, 2 or 3 year videos, they were made with a sort of a different style. There are certain visual tricks and certain pieces of graphic design that have standardized across the videos over the years, and those were all made before that. But also in the case of the Prowl one, I don't think I gave Prowl a fair shake when I was describing his roles in the G1 and Marvel cartoons too much. I think I was I minimalized them unfairly. I would rephrase and rewrite a lot of the way it's a bit aggro, the Prowl video, and I would rewrite that a lot. Now, I mean, all that he's really had since then was IDW ended, and the non-character that he was in Cyberverse appeared. But that feels like a video, like just like the approach I took to it maybe warrants it being redone. The same with female Transformers, actually. I was thinking about that one recently. That's one that I would just do differently now. There's a certain tone, a certain delivery in points of that one that I look back on and I'm like, I could have done that. I could have done that better. There were arguments that people always have about female Transformers that I feel like I should have addressed those head on. Like when I did the romance video, a year or 2 after that one, that video was much more the sort of tone I was happy with striking. It was like I was addressing people's arguments and countering them within the body of the video before they even had the chance to make them in the comments. And I would take another crack at doing female Transformers, and I probably wouldn't even call it female Transformers. I'd probably call it like gender in Transformers or something like that. And obviously it's something that there aren't many new examples of it, you know, but with Nightshade being non-binary and Earthspark, there's a little extra, it's only a small extra note to add to the video, but it broadens the scope of what the video talks about so much. You know, it's not just male Transformers and female Transformers and then those few examples of transgender Transformers in the middle. We have a non-binary example that could be talked about now, and any gender in Transformers video feels very incomplete without that in it now. Drake Versteeg asks, who made your original logo and your 3D self-portrait? Now, by my original logo, do you mean the logo that's down here in the corner of the screen? This logo was created by Liam Shalhoub, who is Transformers artist and colorist, worked on the IDW comics. He's working in graphic design and he's worked in video games, and I don't think he's done anything for the Transformers brand for a while now, but he was a colorist on the earliest phases of the IDW comics, and I'd only done a couple of videos with a version of the logo I just made myself, and he got in touch with and said, I'd really like to you know, create a logo. I'm really enjoying what you're doing with the videos, and I'd like to create a logo for you. And I said, yes, absolutely, and please, you know. And he's credited in the notes in every video with this logo was his design. Now the 3D self-portrait, that is not a 3D self-portrait. That is clipped from a 10 to 15 year old advert, British TV advert for a TV on demand service called Now TV. I saw that advert on television and I thought, who do I need to sue? That's me. My likeness has been stolen. It has been taken from me. No, I joke. But yeah, I saw it. I screen grabbed it. And I took to using it as an avatar here and there. And Cody based the drawing from Keane's Combaticons thing on it, but that's what it is originally. It's just a screen grab from a cartoon that bizarrely looks an awful lot like me. And anytime I tell anybody that, they kind of have a minor freak out because they do assume that it is me, but no, I'm afraid not. Oh, someone's making angry faces in the chat, but I can't see what for. Oh, they want to see my Transformers collection. You know what? I would like to show it, but it's hang on. This is an attic room I always stream out of, and my collection is on these shelves over. Oh, this mirrored screen is on these shelves over here. But it's not good. They're not good display shelves. They are shelves of convenience to shove everything onto. It's not a good display to look at. I can't get up and walk over there and tour you around it. I would if I had a proper setup here with detolfs and everything, I would stand it all behind me and properly show it and have it on screen if I could. But I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. I just always have a toy of some kind to hand. Yeah. I've got RID Springload next to me at the moment because I picked this guy up when I was at the TF Nation Minicon. Whee, he's a frog. You don't love that. I usually have somebody next to me here on the desk. Like I got the Prime Viacon next to me at the minute because I was working on the Viacons episode. I usually have a toy of the most recent or relevant thing that I'm working on a video of next to me to entertain me. Diddy Chaos asks, which is the hardest basics episode to make? You know, I had a heck of a lot of trouble with this Viacons script lately. I'm only saying Viacons because it's fresh in my mind as challenging, and I don't know why. You wouldn't think it would be, but sometimes things just work out that way, you know? Other than that, I always tend to go back to the Quintessons. That took a long time to write, to just get it together in just the way I wanted, which is another episode that's well due an update, but I'm a little afraid because it was so hard to do it the first time around. Can't pronounce that. Zbigniew Wazlak says hello from Poland. Hello. I would like to see film adaptations, for example, Hearts of Steel or Shattered Glass. What do you think about this idea? Oh, you mean adapting those things into into films or even short DVD films? Well, I think everybody knows I'm not the biggest Shattered Glass fan, so less said about that. And yeah, I mean, Hearts of Steel seems like it's like the live action movies almost got there. They were going to do that one Project Skyfire. They were going to do that World War II Transformers film, and they were going to do that film set in Arthurian times, and then all these big ideas collapsed and they all got smushed together and it turned into The Last Night. And that's where big ideas gets you when you're trying to make Transformers movies. Let's see. I'll see. There's a few people commenting there. Can I do the basics on this? Can I do the basics on that? Can I do the basics on Eraser? Can I do the basics on Mirage? There's a film coming up, guys. That's all I'll say. There's a film coming up, and then it'll be open season. It'll be fair game after that. Okay, let's see. We've been here going on for about... well, there's one more. Toa Brony, I think, asked that question a few times. Will there be an episode about Transformers crossovers? And that's a question people ask a lot, and I've said it a few times on streams before, but I'll say it again now. I've never figured out how to make that in a way that I think would be entertaining. There have been so many crossovers between Transformers and other properties, it would just be a list of crossovers, of stuff that Transformers has crossed over with. There's not really any kind of growing or changing presentation of the concept. There's not any kind of through line or narrative or story to follow. It'd just be a list of stuff. And I try not to make videos that are just lists of stuff one after the other. So I've I'm sure there's a way, but I just haven't figured. And again, people ask for it all the time, so I feel like, I hope if I did make it, people would enjoy it, that it would be a good video, that it'd be a popular video. But I just haven't found out how to make it in a way that I think would be as entertaining as it possibly could be, you know. Oh, Adam Henson says, I missed a super chat from him about a collab. Sorry, Adam, I did miss that. Oh, a collab with Few Adams or Jobby the Hong, maybe, Adam asked. Well, I certainly love... I've never really watched any Jobby stuff, so I have no knowledge of him as a reviewer or as a person. I know he's done collabs with, like... I mean, he's probably too busy working with, you know, real people like David Kay and Gary Chalk and all that. As I said, though, Few's one of the few Transformers toy reviewers I do watch, so I'm always up to the idea of doing something with Few, but it's hard to know sometimes how to make these things. Like Gav figured out a way to do a collaboration between the two of us because it was funny and it was very entertaining. I thought it was fun to do. I don't know what Theo and I would do together, but I would be absolutely open to the idea of it. There's another one I missed as well, actually, from Stephen Walker and Florger. Any specific lore you want to show in the basics? Nothing specific comes to mind. You know, if I'm really excited and want to do something, I just do it. So yeah, I mean, like with the Dark Energon video that I've got coming up, that's as much an excuse to talk about Angomwa energy in the Japanese side of Beast Wars as it is to talk about Dark Energon and Unicron and all that, as it is in of itself. You know, there's I'm looking forward to talking about beast-based stuff coming up in June as well. As I say, not talking anymore about what's going to be in June, but there'll be beast stuff. I'll say that much, you know. Excuse me. Let's see. Someone. So I mentioned a Digimon in the credits there, and that caught my attention, but I can't see where the original question came from. Oh, it was somebody asked, what's my favorite non-toy? No, that's not it. Well, the Molted Jet there asks, what's my favorite non-toy Transformers media? Like a piece of Transformers media that's not specifically connected to any toy line. So, like, I couldn't say Beast Wars the cartoon because it's based on the Beast Wars toy line. Probably got to give it to the IDW Comics then. Phase 2 of the IDW Comics. Yeah, they're not specifically tied to toy lines and tended to be weaker for it when they were. Yeah, I can't think of a better example than that. No, yeah, the IDW Comics would have to be it, yeah. Let's see. JT asks, are you going to see the Super Mario movie despite being a Sonic fan? You know, honestly, I'm not planning on it, no. I think I am the only 40-year-old on the planet who just doesn't care about Mario. We were a Sega household. I never had a Nintendo system as a kid. I have no attachment to or interest in Mario, so I have no interest in going to see the film. I'll see it when it comes out on home media at some point, but yeah, no. Not bothered me. What inspired me to become a Transformers YouTuber? I needed a project. I mean, let's see, how long ago? 15 odd years ago. I want to say 10, but closer to 15 years ago. Everybody was doing it. Everybody was doing videos about toy reviews, and I fiddled around with that a little bit for a short period of time, but stopped pretty quickly, you know. But I needed a project when I started the basics. I had been out of work for a little while. I'd toyed around with a couple of things. I was working on some other stuff I couldn't get off the ground, and I was experiencing some slight frustration with the way I thought the Transformers wiki was presenting information in a way I didn't think was necessarily the most user-friendly or the most open to the uninitiated. And I thought, well, maybe I'll try doing... I had toyed around with some video editing for... oh gosh, it was for the for the Megatron Ravage IDW dub I was talking about earlier on. That was the first time I'd ever really edited any video that wasn't simply my head talking on a screen, and that gave me the idea to try doing a little more involved with the basics. Yeah, needed a project. Thought there was a space for it within the fandom, within official media, within just thought there was a space for an entry-level series simply explaining the lore, and it was a compliment. I also in terms of inspiration, I also give a lot of credit to a tragically now defunct YouTube channel. Well, not defunct, it's still there, but it hasn't uploaded in years. YouTube channel called Glove and Boots, which was a comedy puppet show on YouTube, and they started doing this thing where they would on Friday nights they would do a let's play, and it was two puppets, comedic. They weren't really, the guys down below the bottom of the screen really were playing the video games, but this was, as I say, this was a period whenever I had been out of work for a little while. The days were kind of bleeding into the next. The weeks had no shape. There was no delineation between weekday, and I was going mad. And but they started doing this thing weekly on Friday nights, and I was like, oh well, that's how I know tonight is Friday. And those videos helped give my weeks shape, and were a little tiny way of preserving my mental health in a wobbly time. So when I decided that I would start trying my hand at this, one of the decisions I made early on was I'll do mine on a particular day. I'll have a schedule like that. There'll be a day when a new episode goes up so people can expect it and look forward to it, and maybe it can be like a little lighthouse in the same way that those things were for me. And over the years I get many comments about people talking about how the basics recapture a sense of Saturday morning cartoons, and that, that's great. That's perfect for me. That's what I hoped I could do, is to be that scheduled moment that people could look forward to in that way, instead of just randomly posting videos whenever, Anyway, that's a bit deep. Right, moving on. Well, gosh, it's been an hour and over an hour and a half now at this point. Probably time we call. Oh, nope, there's a fresh question in from the super chat from Adam Henson. How would you feel about a Transformers Batmobile or Knight Rider? That's the sort of thing Transformers Collaborative should be doing. Do that. Yes, there is. Collaborative is really eating its own tail at the moment. It's where they're dumping the Tonkanator. You're collabing with yourself at that point, guys. It's just Yellow Devastator. The G.I. Joe ones don't seem to have been hugely popular, at least not in the UK, when you can buy a Hiss Megatron for 25 quid from Game now at the moment. Stuff like a Batmobile that transforms into, not Batman, but a robot that looks like Batman, or a Knight Rider. That is the sort of stuff, in my personal opinion, Transformers Collaborative should be doing. And it feels like it's fallen away from doing that in the last little while. And that would be the sort of thing they should get back to doing, in my opinion. Dark Knight 329 asks, when are Patreon sponsored episodes coming back? If they are, yes, they haven't gone anywhere. I simply have had my mind focused on Rise of the Beasts and what I'll be doing for that, and working up to that. So I think probably I will open Patreon sponsored episodes sometime before summer, and then they will be 4 episodes that will follow after the Rise of the Beasts videos, like in July and August, for late summer. So soon, not tomorrow, but soon, probably within the next couple of weeks to a month. Yeah, I would think. So you can keep your eyes open for that. Let's see. So I'm just looking at the time again. At an hour and a half, I'm starting to feel like I should wind it down. I normally only go for an hour, chaps, but well, maybe we push it to 2 hours today. We go another 15-20 minutes just to get it up to an even 2 hours. What do we think about that? Because everybody's still got plenty of questions. Stella Holly asks if I would ever do the basics on robotics. It's never necessarily thought like something I've thought was within the scope of the show. It's like a cousin of the Transformers cartoon, and it had that one tiny Fun Publications Facebook crossover. It wouldn't be anything that I would be doing anytime soon, put it that way. You know, that's very obscured. Armin Pipieri asks, who are the Raptoricons? You know, Matt Frank, the artist and writer who created the Raptoricons for Fun Publications, he always he wants to see an episode about them, and that would not be a big or that would be the kind of they've been in one story, and that'd be the kind of episode where he would have to sponsor it, and he always kept missing out on his chance to sponsor it to get it. I'm sure he'll get in there one of these days, but yeah, he was always hoping to get a chance to sponsor a Raptoricons episode. It wouldn't be a long episode, but it would be one where I would really get in depth into the one story that they were in, just because a fantastically obscure thing nobody's ever heard of. But very cool artwork. He's a great artist. I wish he did more Transformers work, Matt Frank. I always take any opportunity to include a piece of art of his from an official comic that I can. Like I took the time to squeeze some into the Viacons episode that's coming up. How about Emirate Zaron for Obscure Characters Month? I think he might just have enough lore. I don't think he's quite there, Emirate. So that's from Space Knight 07. Zaron, he's got Marvel, and he's got a few scattered IDW appearances. And the Ruination, the Wreckers Combiner, his head was based on him, and that's it. No, I don't think... but that's another great example of a character, like I was talking about before, like Carnivac or Quickstrike, where they're significant to me in my memory for their role in that one piece of formative media I consumed, but there's not much more to them, you know? It's like sometimes people have asked in living memory this year, people have asked if I could do the basics on the Terrans from Earthspark, and no, I can't. They've had half a season. I can't do them yet. I gotta see what kind of impact they have on Transformers history before I can do episodes about them, you know. Let's see. We do need I agree with Lorcan Engel. We do need a Legacy Zaron toy. He would have to transform, which is against the spirit of the character, but I would be okay with it. But it's kind of wild at this point that we don't have a Zaron toy, right? Even from all the years of BotCon stuff, we could have potentially had one from. It's a funny thing. It's something I was talking to some friends about recently, is that we're at a point in time where the Marvel Transformers comic has never been less significant. Nobody gives an F about the Marvel comic anymore. And it's weird to have come up in a time when there were two versions of the Transformers story. There was the cartoon, and there was the Marvel comic, and they were both of equal importance in standing, in lore. But as time has gone on, the Generation 1 cartoon has continued to sit atop its pedestal, its position of reverence, as toys have more and more been created of its incidental characters and its guest characters, and have been created to try and replicate the appearances of classic characters as they were in that show. And the Marvel comic has receded more and more into the background in relevance. The things that it did, the things that it was most famous for introducing and creating, feeling like they've become more famous for appearing in other stories. And after how long was it? After an 18-year run, when someone says Transformers comics, it's IDW. IDW have consumed that position, like in the collective consciousness of fandom, like that. They ran for so long, more than twice as long as the Marvel comic. They became the default like Transformers comic, and the Marvel comic has just continued to recede in relevance. Whereas which is why it feels like so weird that we don't have a Zaron toy. Like if Zaron had been a supporting character in a couple of episodes of the G1 cartoon, he'd have had a toy. They're doing a DevCon toy, but he's from the Marvel comic, and nobody cares. It's weird. It's been a slide over time, but it's something I've become aware of in the last year or so, really, doing episodes of the basics, where I did the Underbase saga episode, I did the episode about the Marvel comic itself, I did the Death's Head episode, and they get views, but they're definitely on the lower end. And the Marvel comic video itself, the video about the Marvel comic, I've said it on stream before, one of the least successful videos on the channel, like on a curve, on a ratio, and it really, like, you know, put it into perspective for me. It's like it's not what it was, you know. Yeah, as Dark Knight 329 says, to be fair, IDW had the license longer and gained more praise. Yes, absolutely. You know, that is why they took that place in popular culture and collective consciousness of Transformers comics as IDW. It's the first one that comes to mind. The Marvel ones just they were. It's weird, as I say, to come up in a time whenever they were treated of being just as important. Many people argued as being vastly superior to the cartoon. It's a very old argument, whether you were a cartoon guy or a comic guy. That's what we used to argue about in the 90s, you know, and that's just not a thing anymore. You know, when I see somebody talking about how they think the Marvel comic is the best version of the Transformers story, the first thing I think is, oh, so you're old. so you're my age or older. Because that's how old you have to be to come up with that opinion. You know, we're old now, says Kirby Fan Prime. You're right, Kirby Fan Prime. We are old now. Mellow Gaming said Marvel Comics really did create a lot of the lore we have today, but the comics themselves aren't as big a deal. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, they create, like, the idea of badass Grimlock or cold and terrifying logical Shockwave. The ideas that the comic was most recognized for, even way back when, the big distinguishing points, but in terms of characterization and depiction between it and the cartoon, you know, intelligent, badass Grimlock, and terrifying, logic-driven Shockwave. It feels like those are just they're more famous for being in other things now. Shockwave has gone on to do so much in Dreamwave's comics and in IDW's comics, and the new space he occupies in Transformers lore off the back of the Aligned continuity as Megatron's mad scientist. Those eclipse the Marvel comic as the stuff is remembered for being in other things, not for where it originated, unlike the G1 cartoon, where it is remembered for being in the G1 cartoon. Superfire Dagwan, Chris, it's Dawn. Oh, Dawn, hey, Headmaster Dawn, how are we? Hey, Dawn, just wondering which version of the Headmaster's origins you preferred. Rebirth, Marvel miniseries, and the chat jumped again, jeez. Rebirth, Marvel miniseries, Japanese Headmasters, or IDW? I think I tend to prefer... Conceptually, I like the... Well, they both have their pluses and minuses. The simple idea of tiny robots piloting bigger bodies, that's neat. It's straightforward and neat. I very much can get on with it. It's cool. But I think conceptually, the idea of two entities merging and sharing a mind, there's much greater story potential in that very little has actually been able to mine to its fullest, to really explore to its fullest what that means, usually just because the story has to move away and be about something other than Headmasters, and I think IDW generally got the closest to that, of obscuring the sheer potential, the horrific potential of that mental and physical fusion. It'd be really cool if something could really dig down into that. That's the one I think is conceptually the most interesting, even though I don't think in practice it's ever been used to its fullest potential. Let's see. What's your opinion on Transformers having facial hair? I'm absolutely fine with it. People have these, girl Transformers, Transformers with beards. It's a cartoon. It's fine. They can have whatever. They got 5 fingers, noses, eyes, and ears. They can have beards. I don't care. I don't care. It's a cartoon. Shut up. That's how. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't. That's not an argument I'd ever enter into with anybody. People thinking it's. They don't. There doesn't need to be a reason for it. There doesn't need to be a reason for them to have beards any more than there needs to be a reason for them to have noses. You know. Let's see. What do we got left? Do I have a favorite cassette bot? It's Rumble. I love Rumble, a little bugger. If they can have mouths, they can have beards, says Naruto 85. Yeah, that's it. It's kind of thing. It's to me, it's an expression of the same argument about romance and relationships. And it's like, if they can hate each other enough to fight a war, they can love each other enough to have romances as well. It's a cartoon written by people for people. I don't need it to be hard sci-fi coming up with explanations that usually doesn't lead to anything good within the canon. And that's my stance on that. I don't need this stuff to have reasons behind it. A very generous pledge there from Trent Westbrook. Just wanted to say I've really enjoyed your channel on YouTube for a long time and look forward to every video you put out. Thanks for the great content. Thank you, Trent. Thanks for turning up today, and thanks for your very generous pledge. I hope I can continue to entertain. Dartherian says inanimated Transformers are 50% chin. You know, exactly. Like, they just look like that because a person designed them that way. That's why they look like that. That's why they have a beard, because it expressed. Prime did get rid of Kirby fan. Prime did get rid of noses, and it annoyed people. Now, it didn't annoy me particularly. I think, well, animated sort of got rid of noses too, didn't it? Yeah, most animated characters don't have noses, do they? They have the helmet ridges, and then there's the little bit that comes down that emulates the position of a nose without actually giving them a nose. And it does feel like that was done with the mindset that we're talking about here, where somebody designed those characters and thought, well, the Transformers, they don't need to have noses, so I'm not going to give them noses. And then that grew to becoming Prime's complete elimination of noses. But I had no strong feelings about that at the time either, because that's one of the things I enjoy about Transformers, is that they can look like anything. You know, this can... Oh, pull this wiggle off. This can be a Transformer. It's a frog, for goodness sake. This can be a Transformer. Or this weird little organic guy, Beast Wars Iguanas. Picked him up at the TF Nation Minicon as well. These weird little organic skin guys, they can be a Transformer. Or these bags of knives can be Transformers. There's no set rule. They can have noses. They cannot have noses. They can have beards. They cannot have beards. They can look like anything. I subscribe to that theory. It's like that it's perfectly fine for Transformers to look like whatever, as long as it's internally consistent within the art design within a given series. You know, Transformers is endlessly adaptable in that regard, in my opinion, and. Unamused clerk says, no noses, then how do they smell? Terrible. Yeah, Scourge looks like he'd smell bad, all right, doesn't it? He's very grungy. Most Bayformers kind of look like they'd smell bad, right? They'd smell a diesel. Rise of the Beasts month, June 9, says Andrea Bucor. That's right, yes. I had initially thought that it was earlier in the month than that, so that I could do I could start in with the Rise of the Beasts content from the first weekend of the month and have it be Rise of the Beasts month. Gotta wait till the second weekend before I can do my first Rise of the Beasts themed one. But I should calm myself down. But I'm really looking forward to Rise of the Beasts, guys. Optimus Primal's going to be in a film. Drake Redwing Official just said there, basics on Transformers anatomy, like T-Cogs, optics, Cosmotrons, etc. I mean, I feel like I covered the very broad basics of that in the biology episode, which was the 3rd episode I ever did. So Yeah, I mean, I feel like the broad strokes of that is covered. There are definitely like individual things I could maybe dig down into, like Sparks, for instance. That's a big one I still haven't done yet, and I started writing that recently, but it just wasn't coming together for some reason. Had to shelve it, save it for another time. Sparks is a big anatomy one. So there's probably certain aspects like T-Cogs, transformation cogs. Maybe there's an episode in them on their own, perhaps. I'm not sure. Would you ever do a video, Sith Astromech says, would you ever do a video about Sunstorm or his... Sunstorm, yes, definitely. He's one of the big seekers I haven't done yet, but Sunstorm's a weird one. For a hot minute there, and I say a hot minute, what I really mean is, I guess, 10 to 15 years ago, Sunstorm was everywhere. You couldn't swing a cat without hitting a Sunstorm. You were tripping over Sunstorms. And then he just, poof, just no more Sunstorms anymore. They lost interest in him dramatically about Sunstorm or his teammates Hotlink, Bitstream, and Nacelle. Hotlink, Bitstream, and Nacelle, there wouldn't be enough to do anything about them individually, so I probably would fold them into a video about Sunstorm, just as a way of getting info about them out there. It'd be a Sunstorm video, but I'd touch on them because they're like a sentence each kind of guys. Or even Nova Storm, since they appear now in G1, Cyberverse, and Earthspark. Yeah, I said all I feel like there was to say about Nova Storm at the time in the Acid Storm video, in the same way that, I felt like I feel like I could cover Hotlink, Bitstream, and Nacelle in a Sunstorm video. I talked about the other Rainmakers in the Acid Storm video, but Nova Storm with her appearance in Earthspark now is edging out a little bit past that. Like that character is maybe not all the way there yet, but they're really taking steps to becoming quite a distinct seeker unto themselves that you could see in future series getting their own part. They started out as a generic, and it's been unlike Sunstorm or Acid Storm, who just made these sudden boom jumps. They got a name and suddenly they were everywhere. Like the Yellow Rainmaker has had this slow build up to speed, this slow creep up in relevance that just feels like it's really blossoming now over the last cartoon or two, and that there's still further places she could go yet and become just as important as an Acid Storm or a Sunstorm, and just say just as important on a ratio. But Jack Walsh says he'd love to see me cover Tarn from the IDW universe. I did cover Tarn. I've done a video about it was the Decepticon Justice Division. I covered him in the Decepticon Justice Division video. That was a sponsored video from a couple of years ago where the sponsor asked for Tarn, and I had to say, well, there's not enough to Tarn to do yet, so I'll do the whole DJD. And of course, I did that. At least a year, if not 2 or 3 years, before Tarn then appeared in Cyberverse, and obviously now has his legacy toy. So that's a video, that's a weird one, because it's like a video where there's been a really significant addition to the character's history, so it feels like it should be updated, but it would be, there's the rest of the video, it doesn't need changed in any way. It would really just be the same video with something stuck on the end of it. I'm not big on doing that. The idea of updating videos, I don't really want to do updates like that. I would like to do a ground up rewrite, and that Decepticon Justice Division video it's pretty fine the way it is, except for that missing on the end. So you end up with these situations where it's hard to update things. Tiny Robot CD is asking for Tarantulas. Yeah, calm down. I was saying earlier in the stream that we wait and see how Earthspark shakes out and what further it does with that character. But he's with all the beast content that's coming down the line, he'll be sooner rather than later on Tarantulas. But I just gotta wait out and see what the future holds for him as far as Earthspark goes. Stella Holly asks, how would you handle the basics on DevCon with the DOTM guy? Yeah, that's right. They call the big, weird Cloverfield monster looking Decepticon you see stomping around in the back of Dark of the Moon. They call him DevCon. I'd mention him, but that would be it. I'd throw the mention of the name in there as I guess one of the most notable uses of the name outside of convention stuff between now and the new toy. So I'd mention him, but that'd be about it. Steve Vendetta asks, what's my opinion on the what's your opinion on the new Astrobot series by Simon Furman? I've not read it. I like Furman's work, but that's not one I happen to have read yet, so I couldn't answer that, I'm afraid. There's a question in from Joe, not Jolene Blake, who is in the chat with us already, but just Joe, from Joe. Love your videos. Thanks for resparking my love for Transformers. Oh, thank you very much, Joe. I'm really glad that my videos, I get comments like that every now and again, that I've helped to do that for someone, you know, re-energized their interest in Transformers. And I never used to think of the videos that way, because I always used to feel like, yeah, they are made to be like entry-level videos where someone new or lapsed can come back and refresh their knowledge or get themselves up to date. I never really used to think of them as something that could, on their own, truly like re-energize somebody and get them into Transformers again. And I'm so glad that they can do that. It's a responsibility in a way, in a sort of way, but I'm genuinely very glad, and I hope that they can continue to do that, and I hope that they can continue to speak to people from all generations, people who came in as fans of whether it's people my age who grew up with the G1 stuff and then maybe didn't look at anything again until the movies came out, or people who started on the Unicron trilogy or the Bay movies themselves. I hope that I can continue to cover all the different aspects of Transformers in as what's the word, unbiased a way as possible. I do let my opinions creep through sometimes, but in such a way that fans of all those different walks of Transformers, all the different forms Transformers takes, can continue to enjoy the videos and learn about the other parts of the franchise that they may not be familiar with through them. Well, Dave asks, what are your thoughts on the weird aligned timeline and how the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron games tie into Transformers Prime and RID? I have a very simple answer for that. I think that if the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron games were exactly the same, but used the Prime cartoon aesthetic, we wouldn't be having this argument. I think people are just incapable of seeing beyond the huge aesthetic difference. And also don't really understand that they were never supposed to be 100% matches anyway. It was I feel like I've talked about the aligned continuity. Back up at the top of the stream, somebody was pointing out that I always say the Monster Planet Unicron and the other specific phrases I use to describe things, and I always say a unified modern vision for Transformers lore, which is what it was supposed to be. A broad strokes basic conceit that all subsequent series could stick to, and which they did stick to. And if you're complaining about the differences between them, you're not seeing the forest for the trees. That's my stance on the aligned continuity. I think it succeeded at the broad strokes objective it set out to accomplish. I think that the people making it had two... they reached for the stars and did not reach. Their reach exceeded their grasp. That's the expression I was looking for. They had a big epic vision for it that it was probably never going to be possible to execute because they weren't making it themselves. The guys who were writing that continuity, that binder, they were one division within Hasbro, and you know, people like to say, oh, the people making the Prime cartoon, oh, they wouldn't work with them, oh, they fought back against them, and it's like, okay, let's say yes, but okay, but the guys making the toys over in the toy division of Hasbro were coming up with their own ideas that were completely at odds with what the guys in the small group of creators working on the binder, on the timeline, were coming up with as well. It was the left hand not knowing what the right was doing, and that was the reason for the conflicts and the ultimate collapse of the whole thing, and the bigger problems that emerged as a result of it. But I will always say, and I always maintain, that I think it succeeded at the broad strokes objective it set out to accomplish, because it is still influencing Transformers lore and stories in the way that it wanted to, even today, even though we've left that specific, I beg your pardon, gosh, lots of burps on the stream today, I'm so sorry, I'm ranting, even though we've left that specific singular continuity or universe behind, what the aligned continuity wanted to do still holds. That basic broad strokes backstory that holds true for modern Transformers timelines. But you can go and watch the basics on the aligned continuity, where I spell all this out, and I'll stop there. You can go and watch that video if you want to hear me go on any more about that at that length. All right, guys, it is after 8 o'clock here now. We've been going for 2 hours, and I'll just take a little sip of water here. I think it's probably about time that we put it away for tonight, and I can go and have some dinner, and you can all go and do the same, or whatever meal it's time for wherever you are in the world. Let us do a quick rundown of what's coming up. Everything that was announced today. Coming up next weekend, we have the basics on Crosshairs for the second and final video of April. Then, a very popular request from the comments that I never really thought too much about. I was like, well, why? And then I thought about it, and I was like, oh, that's why. There's definitely an episode in that. So yeah, I had a lot of fun making this one. Then, in April, we'll be looking at Dark Energon, which will be a look not simply at Dark Energon, but at the concept of Unicron's evil powers and his energy, and so we'll cover Anglemois and the Dark Essence and Shockeract and the way these things have been retconned and conflated over the course of Transformers history. That's going to be the first video for May, and then the second video for May will be the Viacons, looking at the concept of identical drone armies in Transformers history, broadly speaking, but specifically looking at the Beast Machines Viacons and the fellas from Prime, what share their names. Yes, just that I think that I imagine it's clear about everybody, but yes, I've been on a bi-weekly schedule all this year so far, and that is simply because I have intentions for, because these are the 2 videos for May. Then after that it's June. That's Rise of the Beasts month. That is there'll be more than 2 videos in June. I make you this promise now. And I'm sticking with the bi-weekly schedule up to that point, because I want to have time to make sure that I can make as many videos as possible for June, because everybody's going to be hype for Rise of the Beasts, and I want to make sure that I can help join in on the hype. So we're sticking with the fortnightly, the bi-weekly schedule, at least up until June, and then we'll see what comes in the back half of the year after Rise of the Beasts comes out. And one more rundown then also of the collabs I've done in the last month or 2. You will find the links to these in the description below whenever the stream finishes. I dropped in to talk about Metal Hawk with TRDQ, Gav Spence. I was on Commodin Cam's ranking every G1 episode video to talk with a lot of other YouTubers to talk about one of my favorite G1 episodes, and I provided a few lines for Kean Carlisle's very impressive fully animated Transformers fan project Combaticons, which I strongly recommend everybody go and check out. So that's what's coming up. That is what you can, where else you can find me on YouTube at the moment. And with that, oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? He's quite right. Mellow Gaming's just commented in the chat. I don't have an image of it lined up, but quite right. Should have mentioned it. I did also guest on the Triple Takeover podcast. It was a Patreon exclusive episode, so if you listen to the Triple Takeover podcast, you'd have to go and sign up to their Patreon to get access to it. But I also guested on the Triple Takeover podcast, talking about the first draft of Transformers the movie. So that was great fun. I haven't guested on a podcast. Have I been on any other point? I'm just thinking. I feel like I haven't guested on a podcast in a good long time. Continue to do my own podcast with Demon Tomato Dave Bulmer, Sonic the Comic, the podcast. That's at stctp.zone. But yes, I can't believe I forgot to mention that. Apologies to the Triple Takeover lads, and thank you, Mellow Shade, was it? Thank you for reminding me that I did not mention it. Yes, so Gav, Cam, Kean, and the Triple Takeover guys. That is where you can get your McFeely fix. Sorry. I keep thinking of other things that I haven't got images for lined up for. Yes, I will also be, if you're in the UK, I will also be at TFCon UK 2023, which is coming up in 4 weeks' time from today on Saturday. That's a small fan-run convention that's going to be in Birmingham. You'd have to go over to their Facebook page, search for TFCon. TF UK Search their Facebook page. Oh my goodness, I beg your pardon. TF UK Con. Search Facebook for their page to get the details. I am actually a guest at that. I'm not going as an attendee. I am an invited guest alongside Simon Furman and Andrew Wildman and others, as well as a couple of virtual guests like Bob Skur, story editor of Beast Machines, and Jim Sorensen, who will be doing virtual panels as well. I will be a guest, yes, at TF UK Con. And if you are going, or if you want to head over to Facebook and search them up to get the details and find out how you can attend as well, you can do that. It's on in a month's time in Birmingham, England. So, yeah. Oh yes, Lecky81 comments in the chat. TF UK Con tickets can be bought via Prime Time Toys. That's somewhere else you can do it as well. So yes, I'll pop a link to that in the description as well when the video finishes. I completely forgot. Wow, sorry folks, I thought I had everything lined up and ready to go, and I keep trying to end the stream, and I keep thinking of things I haven't mentioned. Right. One last question actually there. I'd see Drake Redwing official asks, because it's relevant to what we're talking about right now. They forgot to ask, do you have a Discord server for the basics? I don't. No, I am on Discord, but I don't have a Discord for the basics. It would be something else I would have to moderate or appoint someone to moderate. Something else I'd feel a little too responsible for. So no, I haven't gone so far as to start up a Discord for the basics yet. I won't rule it out in the future as time goes on, but I do not have one right now. Okay, so right, anybody got anything else? Anyone else that want to remind me of anything that I've forgotten? Dan Spockia asks, is that 2020 sound by Darkstar on the wall behind you? You're talking about these little squares over here? I don't even know, mate. Those aren't mine. This is an old attic room where things were stuck up long ago. I don't even know what's over there. I keep thinking I should put a backdrop or something here so that I could project an image or something you could look at. But yeah, this is just an unkempt attic room. Blaster Tronus asks, new profile pic when? Yes, I may well change my profile pic to this drawing by Cody Lane, my Transformer Sona, just to get it out there. Okay, folks, yeah, that's going to do it. I'm tired and hungry, and I think 2 hours of me is more than any man can stand. So with that, I will leave you. You can look forward to Crosshairs next Saturday, more stuff in May, and then Rise of the Beasts content coming in June. Of course, the most exciting thing, hopefully, will be the film itself, but I'll be there to capitalize upon it and enhance your enjoyment of it, hopefully, by telling you all about what stuff they've used and changed and got wrong. All right, folks, good night. I will see you again in the next stream.